Hey folks, Kozzi here, making another draft video for Pick 1 Pack 1. We're finishing off with our Stonescar tokens deck that we've taken through to 4 wins and 2 losses so far. The eager eyes of you might have noticed that when we switched up through the wins, I had the wrong archetype up. We're not playing with Elysian Flyers. That was a previous video that I'd made for a technical test. It actually is in fact Stonescar tokens, so sorry about that. We'll eventually get there and get used to working out how this works. In the meantime, let's continue on with our draft. We're currently at 4 and 2, so if we lose another match, we're out. But for each win beyond this, we get onto a platinum chest, which should hopefully mean for an interesting prize pack. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of results we get. Overall, this deck has worked quite well. I feel as though I've had relatively favourable matchups for it. I haven't had anybody who's particularly heavy on removal, and we've only gone up against the one absurdly defensive deck. And so in any other deck where it's a chance of curving out, we've been quite successful in that regard, including the time where we got quite power screwed. And so it was just a case of waiting long enough whilst they got power flooded to stabilize and return. This is a hand that we can't keep. Pretty easy decision here, so we'll see if we get anything better. And whilst this has my 2 weakest 2-drops in the entire deck, it does have a pump spell, it has a dark return, so it is better than nothing. And it looks like my opponent is a new player to the game. One of the things I've been quite enjoying is the fact that now that we've started a second season, it puts up where your result was in the first season, and so with them having nothing, I assume that means that they've only been playing in the last few weeks. So welcome mate, I hope you enjoy yourself. My opponent's played a Pyrodept. I feel as though the best response here is the Dark Wisp to represent a blocker. That also gets me some advantage and at least hold up the board until I get my Zen and Destroyer in and the Rampage to allow it to attack through and not trade. Life Drinker makes that look like a pretty bad decision, but at least I don't lose any card advantage from it. I'm happy seeing my stronger 3s come in. I need to make my decision between Destroyer and Thornbeast. I imagine that he'll be keeping back the Pyrodept no matter what, and so I think I'd rather be trying to gain some life and stabilize here, especially as if I do happen to draw one of my token generators, I can get much more value out of my Thornbeast. I definitely feel as though a turn 5 play for me though will be Pyrodept plus Thornbeast, killing the Pyrodept and giving me as much value as I can hope for out of that 2-drop. If my opponent has a Torch or something like that, I could be in a little bit of trouble. If they attack in, I don't think I'll be interested in the trade. Well, we're going to be losing a Thornbeast. It's not bad though. I wouldn't actually be too unhappy at Dark returning that particular Thornbeast back and making a 6/6. So in this scenario, if I attack in, and they choose to block with the Pyrodept, then I can play the Rampage and get myself a virtual 2-for-1 because I get both the weapon and the Pyrodept. If they double block, they're representing 4 power and I'll get myself a 3-for-1, 3-for-2 rather, because he'll still die. And the great bit is this is fully disguised by the fact that he has to attack, which ordinarily is a detriment, but here he's allowing it to go straight through. He must be fearing some kind of pump spell. If he has a second weapon, or if he has a power and a smuggler's stash, then Pyrodept's a bad idea, but I think I'd rather continue developing here. I'd rather have my sacrifice option ready, and I can't think of too many better things to return to my hand than a Thornbeast. Very curious that he didn't want to block there. He must have a plan with his hand. I don't think there's any mystery as to why I don't want to block here. That would be a terrible, terrible trade for me. I'm very happy taking the 2-for-1 here. If that's what he's trying to do by making it deadly. So if I play my Thorn Beast now and I sack my Pyrodept, then I have a 6/6. He'll be attacking in. It'll become a 5/5. I'll be winning the race, especially when next turn I play the Grenadin Drone. The only way that this backfires is if he has removal. And if that's the case on previous turns, I can cast my Drone and my other Thorn Beast. If he has removal, the one question that I have is whether it's safer for me just to play this one and make a 5/5, so I still have a 4/4, which is going to be more valuable. And I think, yeah, I'd much rather hedge my bets in that regard. There's no real consideration for me about whether I want to keep the Pyrodept around whilst he's got a Dark Wisp on the table. So if I don't draw power, we're looking at playing a Grenadin Drone plus a combat trick. He's offering up the trade. I don't think I'm interested, especially because he could have a quick draw combat trick. And also because I'm gaining 3 life a turn. In this scenario, I think we're in a racing situation, and I believe that I'm equipped to win this race, primarily because I have the Overwhelm combat tricks. And I've also got the larger board. And this guy is going to be on chunk blocking duty. Him attacking in, because he's played his chieftain before the attacks, I can just block without any fear. If he would have left this until after his attack phase, it would have been a very different proposition for me. So in this scenario, if I attack, he's going to be blocking the 6 here, he's going to be going for a trade with a 5 and trying to kill. That's 5 damage, 6 damage, 9, 12. So instead, I think we attack in and try and save 2 and also clean up his board. This guy can stay home until next turn when I want to rally, or if I draw the power to be able to cast my Channeler. What's most important for me right now is to make sure that all of his creatures die, if the chieftain dies as well. That's a bizarre block. Bizarre block. Why would he keep this alive when he can be giving the power away? Either way, this will mean that I'll use one of my combat tricks. That'll be 5 damage through, 10 damage through. If I put my Rampage here, it'll be 11 plus an extra 3. I just want to double check that. So I have 6, so 5, 10, 11, 14. There we go. 14 damage through for lethal. Alrighty, so we're into the platinum packs, which is always nice. I'll just make sure that I have the right. So we have Stonescar tokens there, which is great. Let's continue on with the matches then. I have the suspicion that my opponent was a bit new to the game. Some of those blocks were a bit baffling. But that's okay. You've all got to start somewhere to learn. And I think that's also useful for seeing about how important it is to keep up your power for as long as possible so you can represent things that you might not even have. Because for me, that made some of my decisions very, very easy. This hand's a little bit weak. We're really relying on getting a 1 or a 2 drop. It's not the worst hand in the world, but it's definitely not optimum for me when I'm trying to get aggressive, and it looks like we're up against a defensive Elysian build. My goal is to kill that as soon as possible, so I'm hoping to get out to the Life Drinker before he can add anything to it. Whilst I can't imagine that this is quite as problematic in draft unless he happens to have the creature that turns into a frog, it's still problematic in general. I now have a choice. I can either try and turn off his card draw or turn off his clock. I don't like my choice, especially as I have so few flyers, but I feel as though if he gets extra cards on top of me, there's just no way I can come back in this game. So I feel as though my hands are tied a little bit. And what I'm going to need to do is just try and race him. But I definitely have a sinking feeling about this match. This keeps me a little bit more optimistic. And I'm going to be playing it first because I need to be gaining life to stay in this game. If I can get myself a combat trick here, this would be amazing. As he's going to be getting his 2-drop, or his 2/2 Serpent Hatchling, and playing something else which will allow him to profitably double block my Destroyer. So the Destroyer is going to run in, it's going to get double blocked, I'll be able to kill his Hatchling, and I'm going to be Dark Returning it straight away. Wow, he's going to be chump blocking. Well, not chump blocking, he's just going to be blocking. That's good news for me if I do draw more combat tricks. What I want to do then, he's going to be attacking for 5 each turn, so I need to get as wide as possible. So I think I'll cast the Channeler, and then next turn when I have 6 I can cast both Thorn Beasts using 1 to eat the Channeler. I could even be convinced to use 1 to eat the Dark Return, to eat the Xenon Destroyer rather, which I can Dark Return later, but that does sound a little bit too greedy to me. But yeah, the intentions of this match are very clear. This is a race of him going to the skies and me trying to hold on with life gain. In retrospect, it looks like this might have been the best decision. I haven't seen him have any powerful creatures, but when he's playing Elysium, you do have to respect the fact that on turn 3 they can play a False Prince. And they have a lot of creatures in time that are above the curve that can easily get to 5 power. So I feel as though, even if I'd seen his hand, it'd be a very tough call to trust that the top of the deck didn't have something that give him card advantage. Because as I'm so short on removal, any form of card advantage here, I feel as though it's game over. Yep, he keeps getting aggressive. And I keep finding myself in trouble. So in this scenario, even if I Dark Return it, it's going to be too small. So my choices are, I can either eat it now and make myself a pair of 5/5s, and he'll be attacking for 5. He'll probably be attacking for 7, 9 in the air. And I'm not fast enough to return. I can double attack, know that he's going to die, make my 5/5s, get the 3 damage in, putting him on 20, and then next turn Dark Return it, just to hope that I'm alive long enough, even though he's got in the air a 2-turn clock, so it's really only if I can represent enough damage for him to care. It's not a great plan, but it's the plan I currently have. I wasn't expecting that particular block. If that's the case, I think I just need an army of profitable attackers. If I draw my Execute here, I'm still in with a chance, as I'll only be taking 7 next turn in the air, gaining 3. But that is not an Execute, so can I stay alive? If I gain 3 life, I go to 11, I take 5, 7, 11, exactly. So now, unfortunately, that's it for me. The fact that I had no 1 or 2 drop in that mulliganed hand, and coupled with the choice that I had to make, was really what decided that match. In theory, I could have decided to take his 3-1 and just leave him with the creature that could have drawn him card advantage, but I feel as though it's one of those of I was damned if I do and damned if I didn't. Yeah, beyond that, I feel as though this deck represented how it should be playing out. It didn't quite look like a token deck. I never really got to the early Grenadin drones to try and take advantage, but we did see the aggression, and we saw how it could get people on the back foot with a handful of combat tricks. As far as rewards, I get a little bit of salt in the wounds with a shiny version of the card that menaced me at the end. And we'll open up the 3 packs and then I'll leave you be to check out another one of our Pick 1 Pack 1 drafts. That's unexciting. Equally unexciting. And a card I'd never seen before. There you go. So there you have it, folks. That was Stonescar Tokens deck, drafted for Pick 1 Pack 1. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys again sometime soon. This has been Kozzi, and I'll see you later.